Topic: Reinvented corruption in contemporary times, a call to restore values, integrity, and social responsibility. Written by Professor Paul, Ph.D. ME Foundation Monthly Lecture, Series 37, April 6, 2026. Over the years, corruption has often been associated with political leaders, public officials, and individuals in positions of authority. However, in contemporary times, corruption has evolved beyond this narrow perception and has become deeply embedded in everyday life. It is no longer confined to leadership alone, but has permeated all levels of society, affecting individuals across different ages, professions, and social groups. As ethical standards continue to decline and societal values shift, the moral foundations that once guided behavior are being gradually eroded. What was once condemned is now increasingly tolerated, justified, or even normalized. In its modern form, corruption is often subtle and rationalized as a necessary means of survival or success. Individuals increasingly adopt the mindset of achieving goals by any means necessary, disregarding ethical considerations. This shift has allowed corruption to infiltrate key social institutions, including the family, education, religion, public service, and law enforcement. Alarmingly, this pattern begins early in life. Children are sometimes encouraged, directly or indirectly, to conceal wrongdoing in manipulative situations, thereby internalizing dishonest behavior as acceptable. Over time, this normalization reinforces a cycle of corruption that becomes difficult to break. Traditionally, society relied on strong moral institutions to uphold integrity and guide behavior. Families instilled discipline and honesty, religious institutions served as moral compasses, and community leaders preserved and transmitted cultural values to younger generations. In recent times, however, these institutions have weakened in their roles. In some instances, religion is exploited for personal or material gain, while cultural values are selectively applied or neglected altogether. Leaders and elders who are expected to act as custodians of integrity sometimes contribute to the erosion of these values, creating a disconnect between moral expectations and actual practice. This has created a moral vacuum in which personal gain often takes precedence over collective responsibility. The widespread nature of contemporary corruption can be better understood through relevant theoretical perspectives. The social learning theory advanced by Albert Bandura explains that individuals learn behaviors by observing others. When corruption is frequently observed, appears to go unpunished, or is even rewarded, it becomes normalized and is easily replicated, especially among younger individuals. Similarly, the strain theory developed by Robert K. Merton suggests that when societal goals such as wealth and success are emphasized without equal access to legitimate means of achieving them, individuals may resort to unethical practices to bridge the gap. In addition, rational choice theory highlights that individuals often engage in corruption after weighing potential benefits against the risks. Where enforcement is weak and consequences are minimal, corruption becomes a rational decision. Institutional theory further emphasizes that weak governance structures, lack of transparency, and poor accountability systems create an enabling environment for corruption to thrive. Complementing these perspectives is the concept of moral disengagement, also associated with Albert Bandura, which explains how individuals justify unethical behavior to avoid feelings of guilt. Common justifications such as "everyone is doing it" or "it is necessary for survival" reinforce corrupt practices and make them socially acceptable. The impact of this reinvented form of corruption is profound and far-reaching. It leads to a significant decline in moral standards, weakens institutions, and erodes public trust in governance systems. Economically, corruption results in the misallocation of resources, reduced investment, and hindered development. Socially, it creates inequality, injustice, and a breakdown of trust among citizens. More deeply, it affects the psychological and moral fabric of society, influencing how individuals think, act, and relate to one another. Many people begin to feel powerless, believing that corruption is unavoidable. Several contemporary factors continue to drive corruption. These include increased materialism and greed, weak value systems, poor leadership, and the growing influence of digital misinformation. The inability of individuals to distinguish between needs and wants further exacerbates the problem, as excessive desires fuel unethical behavior. When combined with weak institutional enforcement and societal acceptance, these factors create a powerful cycle that sustains corruption. Addressing corruption in contemporary society requires a comprehensive, multidimensional approach. First, there must be a deliberate effort to reorient societal values by promoting ethics, integrity, and accountability across all levels of society. Families and educational institutions play a critical role in shaping character and must prioritize moral development alongside academic achievement. Parents must model honesty and responsibility, as children often learn by example. Furthermore, institutions must be strengthened to ensure transparency, accountability, and consistent enforcement of laws. Ethical leadership is essential, as leaders set the tone for behavior within organizations and society at large. Religious and cultural institutions must also return to their foundational role of promoting moral discipline rather than serving as tools for personal gain. Public awareness campaigns and civic education can help challenge the normalization of corruption and encourage responsible behavior among citizens. In conclusion, corruption in contemporary times has become a widespread societal challenge that affects not only institutions, but also individuals' moral consciousness. It has become deeply rooted in daily practices, reinforced by weakened values and systemic failures. However, it is not beyond control. Combating corruption requires a collective commitment to restoring integrity, strengthening institutions, and promoting ethical behavior. Ultimately, the responsibility lies with every individual to reject corruption in all its forms and to contribute to building a society grounded in honesty, fairness, and accountability. Courtesy of Me Foundation, committed to human capacity building worldwide. Just a voice of reasoning in a complex dispensation. Thank you for listening. Please share to inspire others.